Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Ganana Antva Ganapadigam Avamahe, Kavin Kavinam Upavashravastramam, Jeshtarajam Brahmanan Brahmanaspada, Anushranhot Bisi Dasadanam, Om Mahaganadipataye Namaha. Om Keshwaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhvaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Vishnuve Namaha, Madhusudanaaya Namaha, Trivikramaaya Namaha, Vamanaya Namaha, Sridharaya Namaha, Vrishikeshaya Namaha, Padmanabhaya Namaha, Damodaraaya Namaha, Sankarshnaya Namaha, Vasudevaya Namaha, Pradyumnaya Namaha, Niruddhaya Namaha, Purushottamaya Namaha, Dokshaya Namaha, Narasimhaya Namaha, Achyutaya Namaha, Janardhanaya Namaha, Upendraya Namaha, Hare Namaha, Sri Krishna Namaha, Sri Krishna Namaha, Sri Krishna Namaha. शंभुवे नमः विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यंबकाय त्रिपुरांतकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकंठाय मृत्युंजयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः. ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडाय विच्चे, ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडाय विच्चे, ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडाय विच्चे, ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडाय. Dear devotees and friends, we were talking about Dhanama Daityas sent by Shumba and Shumba to the warfield, and we finished the 26 chapters of the 5th book of Devi Bhagavata in the last episode. Today we are going to the 27th chapter of the Devi Bhagavath Purana, 5th book. Vyasa Maharishi continued to tell Janamejaya, the king of Hastinapura, O king, seeing the two Danamas killed in the battle, the remnant of the soldiers all fled away back to Shumba, informing what happened. Some of them were cut and wounded in many places by arrows, some had their arms severed, some were bleeding. Thus they entered crying into the sky. On reaching the lord of Daityas, Shambhu, they began to make frequently the noise indicative of danger and exclaimed, O king, save us, save us. Kalika is devouring everything today. The two great warriors, Chanda, Munda, the tormentors of devatas, were slain by her. Kalika killed Chanda and Munda. Most of the soldiers were killed. We have fled away, panic stricken. O Lord, Kalika has rendered the battlefield horrible by the dead bodies of elephants, horses, camels, warriors, and foot soldiers. A river of blood is flowing there, of which the flesh of the soldiers is sufficient mud. Their hairs are like aquatic plants. The broken chariot wheels are like whirlpools. Their severed arms and feet are like fishes, and their heads like tumbi fruits, long gourds. O king, save our line. Go quickly to Patala. The Devi has become angry and will no doubt destroy our Danava race. Even the lion is eating away the Danavas, and the Kalika Devi is killing innumerable Danavas by her arrows. Therefore, O king, what intentions are you cherishing in your mind? Is it that you have desired to be merely slain with your younger brother Nishumba? And what good purpose will this cruel woman destroying our race, of Danava race, serve? For whose sake you have desired to kill all your friends? O king, victory or defeat in this world are under the Daiva. The wise never risk to meet the great difficulty for the gratification of an ordinary whim. O Lord, look at the wonderful deeds of the great Creator, who more what more wonder can there be than this, that a woman alone killed all the Danamas? O king, you have conquered by the help of your army all the Lokapalakas, guardians of the quarters of the sky, but now that lady, though alone, unsupported by anybody, is challenging you and fight. O king, in ancient times, in the holy pilgrimage of Pushkara, the sacred place of the Devas, you performed austerities. When Brahma, the grandsire of all the worlds, came to you to grant a boon, then you asked the boon and wanted to become immortal. But when Brahma refused to grant it, you wanted from him and were granted that you would not be killed by any male being. We have a He have a Deva, Danava, man, Naga, Kinnara, Yaksha, or any other person. O Lord, for that very reason we think now that this lady has timely come to kill you. Think over it seriously and cease fighting. O King, this Devi is the great Mahamaya, the highest Prakriti. It is the she that devours everything at the end of the Kalpa. This auspicious Devi is the creatrix of all the worlds and Danavas and Devas. She is the embodiment of the three qualities, endowed with all the powers. She is Tamasi, that is, in the destructive nature of the whole world. This Devi can never be conquered, imperishable, eternal. She is the Sandhya and the refuge of the Devas. She is a Gayatri, the mother of Vedas. She is all knowing and always manifested. This undecaying lady is void of any Prakritic attributes, though she at times possesses attributes. She is success incarnate and bestows success to all. She is bliss herself and gives bliss to all. This Gauri bids all the Devas discard all their fears. She is Shuddha Sattva. Thus, knowing, O King, quit thy inimical feelings to her. Seek refuge unto her. The Devi would then certainly protect you. Be obedient to her and save your race. Then the remnant Dhanavas will be able to live for a very long time. Vyasa Maharishi said to the Janamejaya king, hearing that Shumba, the conqueror of the Devas, told him truly in words becoming of a hero. Shumba said to the Danavas, O fools, hold your tongue. You have fled because your desire to live is very strong. So you better go to Patala without any delay. This world is under the control of fate. So I need not think about victory. I am under this fate just as Brahma and other devas are under it. Brahma, Vishnu, Rudra, Yama, Agni, Varuna, Surya, Chandra, and Indra are all under the sway of the destiny. O fools, whatever is inevitable will certainly come to pass. What need I think over it again? The effort also comes to be of such a nature as will lead to the ordained by fate. Thus thinking, the wise never grieve, especially the wise ones never leave their own dharma for fear of death. The happiness, pain, longevity, birth, and death of all the embodied souls are all determined by fate. When their proper time arrives, see, when the time is over, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahadeva, the Lord of Parvati, also disappears. On the expiration of their terms of lives, Indra and other devas go to destruction. Similarly, I am also completely under the sway of time. So, what doubt is there too that too I too will go to destruction at one day? When I have observed my own dharma, this lady is challenging me to fight of her own will. How can I fly away and live hundreds of years? I will fight today, let the result come whatever it may be. I will gladly take the victory or defeat, whatever the case may be. The learned approving of the cause of the effort declare fate as fictitious. Those who realize their sayings know that they are full of reason. Without exertion, no end can be achieved. Weak persons depend on the destiny. Foolish persons say the fate is strong, but the wise do not say that. There is no proof whatever fate exists or not. In fact, what is called fate is invisible. How can it then be seen? Has anybody seen fate? It is simply a scare for the illiterate, remedy only to console one's mind in times of distress. Simply proximity to a grain mill without any man's effort cannot grind a material. Therefore, if exertion be made in proportion to the gravity of the work, success is sure to ensure. If exertion be made less in proportion, the work does not come to a successful issue. If time, place, and one's enemy's forces be correctly taken into account, and then if the proper attempts be made, success follows. Thus Brihaspati has said. Vyasa Maharishi said, O King Janamejaya, thus making a firm resolve to send the powerful Raktabîja to the battle with a vast army, Shumba said to Raktabîja, You are a very powerful hero. Therefore, do you go to the battlefield, O fortunate one, fight as you are the strength of your forces. The Raktabîja said, O King, to his King Shumba, you need not be a bit anxious for this work. Certainly I will either slay her or I will bring her under your control. Please see my skill in this warfare. That lady, favorite of the gods, is worth nothing. I'll just know, conquer her and make her your slave. So Vyasa Maharishi said to the Janamejaya, the king, best of Kurus, thus saying, the powerful Raktabîja mounted on his chariot and went to the battle accompanied by his forces. The battalion consisted cavalry, infantry, chariots, and elephants. Thus surrounded, he departed from the city for that Devi seated in a mountain top. Then the Devi, seeing him coming, blew her conch shell. The Danavas were terrified, and that sound and the joy of the Devas increased. Hearing that sound, Raktabîja came very hurriedly to Chamunda and began to speak to her sweetly. Raktabîja is talking to Devi Bhagavati. O girl, do you think me weak and thus want to steadify me with the sound of a conch shell? O lean one, have you taken me to be a Dhumralochana? O sweet-speaking one, my name is Raktabîja. I am not Dhumralochana, I am Raktabîja. I have come here for your sake. If you desire to fight, be prepared. I am not a bit afraid of that. Oh dear, you saw those who were weak. I do not belong to that class. Therefore, you fight as thou likest, and then you will be able to ascertain my strength. O beautiful one, if you serve the old persons before, if thou had heard the signs of politics and morals, if you had studied the political economy, joined the assemblage of the Pandits, or if thou hast not been well versed in literature and tantras, then hear this my good counsel, which will serve as a medicinal diet too to you. Out of the 9 sentiments, the Sringara, harmless love sentiments, and Shanti, peace, are considered as the chief by the assemblage of the Pandits. Again, out of these 2, the love sentiment is the king, drenched with this sentiment. Vishnu lives with Kamala, Brahma, the four-headed, lives with Saraswati, Indra with Sachidevi, Shankara resides with Uma. The tree stands with creepers surrounding it. The deer lives with his female deer. The pigeon lives with the female pigeon. Thus all the beings are those who cannot enjoy owing to certain diseases or illness. They are deprived by fate of such enjoyments. Those who are ignorant of this love sentiment in couples, they are deprived of it. by the sweet jugglery of words of the cheat and yet attached to their peace sentiment. When delusion, the destroyer of buddhi, the common sense occurs, when the violent, indomitable anger, greed, and lust arise. Where there is the place for acknowledgement, where there is a where then is the place for knowledge and dispassion. Therefore, O auspicious lady, do marry the beautiful Shimba or the powerful Nishumba. That is for your goodness, I am telling. Vyasa Maharishi said, O king, when Vyasa Maharishi is talking to Janamejaya, when Raktabîja spoke all these words, standing before the Devi, Kalika, Ambika, and Chamunda began to laugh. Here ends the 27th chapter of the 5th book, description of War of Raktabîja in Sri Mad Devi Bhagavatham, Mahapuranam, 18,000 shlokas by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Now the war continues. We come to 28th chapter on the description of the fighting of the goddess. O king, the Devi hearing thus laughed and spoke the following reasonable words. In a voice deep as rumbling cloud, O dull-brained one, already I told to that messenger before in reply to you. Why then do you boast in vain? If there be any such in the three worlds, who can stand equal to me in appearance, strength, and prosperity? If there be any such in three worlds, who can stand equal to me in appearance, strength, and prosperity and capacity to play war, I will marry him. Go to Shumba, Nishumba, and inform them that thus I promised before, therefore let any of them conquer me in the battle, and then they can marry me. According to the prescribed rules, you have come here to execute the order of Shumba. So either stand up and fight or fly to Patala with your king. This is a Devi Bhagavati told Raktabîja. Vyasa Maharishi said, O king, hearing the Devi's words, the Danava was filled with anger and began to shoot dreadful arrows at once on the lion. Ambika, then ready-handed, seeing the multitude arrows coming in the sky like serpents, cut them off in a moment to pieces by her sharp arrows. The Devi, then drawing her bow, shot arrows sharpened on stone at the great Asura Raktabîja. Then that wicked demon, thus shot at by the arrows, fell unconscious on the chariot. Then that wicked demon, thus shot by the arrows, fell unconscious in the chariot. When he lay thus senseless, a great uproar arose amidst his army, and the soldiers began to cry aloud, saying, Alas, we all are killed. The Shumba, the king of the Asuras, hearing the sound of Boomba, a danger cry by hands and mouth, ordered all the Danamas to be ready for the battle. The Shumba said, Let all Kambojas go to the battle with all their forces. Let other powerful heroes, especially Kalikeyas too, who were very strong heroes, go up for the battle. Cambodia, the name of people and their country. They are inherited the Hindu Kush mountain, which separates the Gilgit Valley from Balka and probably extended up to Little Tibet and Ladakh. Kalikeyas may be the Afridis. Vyasa Maharishi said to King Janamejaya, O king, thus order all the fourfold army of Shumba with cavalry, infantry, elephants, and chariots went out, intoxicated for war, to the battleground where the Devi existed. Devi Chandika, seeing the Danava forces coming nearer to her, made at once terrible sounds frequently. The Ambika Devi also made the sound with a bowstring and blew her conch shell. Kali then shouted around, opening her mouth widely. The powerful lion, the Devi's Vahana, hearing the terrible sounds, roared so loudly that the Danavas were struck with a strange terror. The powerful Danavas, then hearing that sound, became impatient with anger and shoot arrows after arrows to Devi. The wonderful, horrible battle then ensued, causing horripilation, and the Shaktis of Brahma and the other Devas began to come to Chandika Devi. The Devis, the wives of the several Devas, then went to the battlefield in their respective forms with ornaments and vahanas, as generally on such occasion. The Shakti, wife of Brahma, named Brahmani, mounting on the deck of her swan, came there with a strong of head and Kamadeno and wooden. The Shakti, the wife of Brahma, named Brahmani, mounting on the back of her swan, came there with a string of beads and kamandalu and wooden water pot used to fry ascetics. The Vaishnavi, with her yellow robes, came there, mounted on Garuda, the sacred bird of Vishnu, the carrier of him, the conch, discus, club, and lotus in her hands. The Devi Shankari, the wife of Shiva, the auspicious one, arrived on the back of her bull. The emblem of half moon was on her forehead, while in her hands she held snake, bracelet, and trident, Trishula, and the sign of fearlessness here, fearlessness for her devotees. The beautiful wife of Kartika, Kumari Devi, looking like Kartika, came to fight there mounted on a peacock. The fear-faced Indrani, checked with ornaments on her several limbs, came there to fight with thunderbolt in her hand. Mounted on the elephant Airavata, the Varahi Devi, looking like a female boar, came also seated on an elevated. The Narasimha, resembling Narasimha, the man-lion incarnation, came also there. The wife of Yama, looking fearful like Yama, arrived there on the battlefield, smiling and with staff in her hand, and mounted on the back of the buffalo. Thus the wives of Kubera, Varuna, and other devas also came there with the proper forms, vahanas, ornaments, accompanied by their forces and all excited. Seeing them all, the Devi Ambika became glad. The devas too became peaceful and expressed their great joy. When all the Devis are assembled, the Danavas were afraid at the sight of them. Shankara, auspicious to all the beings, came there to the battlefield surrounded by these goddesses, and thus said to Chandika, slay quickly all these asuras, Shumba, Nishumba, and all other Danavas, to serve the cause of the Devas. Let all the goddesses destroy the Danava race and thus free the world from dangers. They may then return to their own abodes. Let the Devas get their shares of sacrifices. Let the Brahmanas perform the sacrificial acts, and let all the creatures, moving or not moving, be happy. Let all the calamities such as proceed from the drought, excessive rain, rats, foreign invasion, locusts and birds, bats, etc., came to an end. Let the clouds bestow rains regularly, and let the cultivation yield ample harvest. Note here that the rats being a plague. Vyasa Maharishi said, O King Janamejaya, when Shankara, the Lord of the gods and auspicious to all, said thus, a wonderful female ensued out of the body of Chandika, very furious, horrible, with hundreds of jackals surrounding and yelling. Then that Shakti of dreadful appearance said to the five-faced Shiva, smiling, O Deva of the Devas, Go quickly to the Lord of Daityas. Do the duty of a messenger for us. O destroyer of lust, O Shankara, tell that haughty, lustful Shumba and Nishumba, leave the heavens and go to the Patala. Let the Devas reign the heavens. Indra, go to his own beautiful throne. Let all the Devas go to their appropriate places in heaven and receive their sacrificial offerings duly. And if the demons desire to live, let them go quickly to the city of Patala, where other Danavas are dwelling. Else, if they like to die, let them go quickly to the battlefield and let their flesh be eaten up by her jackals. Vyasa Maharishi said, O king, hearing her words, Sulapani went quickly to Shumba, the lord of Danavas, seated in the assembly, and said that this, O king Shumba, I am Hara, the destroyer of the Asura, Tripura. Now I have come to you for your good as a messenger of Ambika Devi. Quit the heavens and earth and go quickly to the Patala, where reside the powerful Bali and Prahlada. Or if you like to court death, come to the fight. I will slay you all in a moment. O king, the great queen Ambika Devi has been sent with these instructions for your welfare and information. So the Hara said like that. Vyasa Maharishi said to the king Janamejaya, thus conveying the nectar-like beneficial words of the Devi to the chief Daityas, Shiva, the holder of the trident, returned to his own place. The Shakti that sent Shambhu as a messenger to Danavas is known in 3 words as Shivaduti. So Shankara became Shivaduti. The Daityas, thus hearing the rigorous words of Devi, put on their coats of armor and taking their bows and arrows quickly, went out to fight. The Daityas, thus hearing the rigorous words of the Devi, put on their coats of armor and taking their bows and arrows quickly, went out to fight. They came with a great force to the battlefield, stretched their bows to their ears, and shot piercing arrows, sharpened on the stone and tipped with iron at the Chandika Devi. The Kalika Devi too began to strike them with the trident, some with Shakti weapon, and some with clubs, and rent them under and devoured them all, and began to roam in the field. Brahmani began to pour water from her kamandalu on the powerful Danavas in the battlefield, and thus destroyed them. Maheshwari, mounting on her bull, gave violent blows by her trident, and thus lay them dead on the ground. Danavas. Vaishnavi, with the blow of her club, took away the lives of many Daityas, and striking them with her discus out of the heads of several others. Indrani hurled her thunderbolt on the chief Danavas already stuck by the feet of the elephant and lay them dead on the field. Narasimhi tore the strongest Danavas with the sharp nails and devouring them, walked to and from and made dreadful sounds. Shivaduti began to laugh hoarsely and laid the Danavas flat on the field when they were at once her ears hurled arrows sharpened on stone on the enemies and killed them to serve the cause of the gods. Varuni tied down the Danavas by her Pasha weapons in a face-to-face fighting. Thus they lay down senseless on the ground. O king, thus the Matrikas, the goddesses, crushed the horses. Then the other powerful devas began to shower flowers on the Devis. Hearing these distressful agonies of the Asuras and the shouts of victory of the Devas, Raktabîja, the chief of Danavas, became very angry, seeing especially the Danavas flying away of, and the devas are shouting, that powerful demon Raktabîja came hurriedly to the battlefield with anger. Then, with eyes reddened with anger and with various weapons, came before the Devi Raktabîja, mounting on a chariot and making sounds unusual, and with his blowing. So he rushed, Raktabîja was rushed. Here ends the 28th chapter of the 5th book, description of the fighting of the goddess, Sri Mad Devi Bhagavatham, the Mahapuranam of 18,000 shlokas by Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Now, in the 29th chapter, we came on the killing of Raktabîja. The Vyasa Maharishi said to the king Janamejaya, please hear attentively about the extraordinary boon that was given by Mahadeva, the god of gods, to the great warrior Raktabîja. Whenever a drop of blood from the body of that great warrior will drop on the surface of the earth, immediately will arise innumerable Danavas, equal in the form and power to him. Thus Deva, Rudra granted the demon the wonderful boon. Thus, elated with the boon, he entered into the battlefield with great force in order to kill Kalika with Ambika Devi. Seeing the Vaishnavi Shakti, the lotus-eyed seated on the bird Garuda, the demon struck her with a violent weapon named Shakti. She then baffled the weapon of by her club and hurled Sudrasana disc on the Sudarshana chakra. So Vaishnavi Devi Mahalakshmi weapon by her club and hurled her Sudarshana chakra on the great Asura Raktabîja. Thus struck by the disc, blood began to ooze out from his body as the red stream of soft red sandstone comes out of the mountain top. Wherever the surface of the earth drops, the blood fell from his body. Then and there sprang out thousands and thousands of demons like him. Indrani, the wife of Indra, became very angry and struck the terrible Raktabîja with his thunderbolt. Streams of blood then began to ooze out of his body. No sooner the drops of the blood fall from the demon's body to the earth, than were instantaneously born from the blood drop many powerful asuras of similar form of Raktabîja, having similar weapons and hard to be conquered in the battle. Brahmani then becoming as under the striking Brahmani then becoming enraged struck with him with the staff of Brahma, the great force. Maheshwari injured the Danava by striking him with her trident. Narasimhi pierced the Asura with her nails. Varahi struck at him with her splint, with her teeth. Then the Danava, becoming angry, shot at them all with the sharpened arrows and pierced them all. Thus, when the Matrika Devis were pierced the Danavas in return with the shots of arrows, Kaumari too struck at his breast with her weapon, named Shakti. Danavas then got angry and hurried on them multitude arrows and began to pierce them. O king, the Chandika Devi, getting angry, cut off his weapons into pieces and shot violently at him other arrows. O king, thus struck by severe blows, when blood began to flow in profuse quantities from his body, thousands of Danavas, resembling Raktabîja, sprang out instantly on the ground. So much so that the heavens were all covered over with Raktabîja that sprang up from the blood. They all covered all over their bodies with coats of armor, began to fight terribly with the weapons in their hands. Then the Devas, seeing that the innumerable Raktabîjas were striking the Devi, became very much frightened and more distressed with sorrow. They began to talk with each other with sorrowful countenances that thousands and thousands of huge-bodied warriors were springing from his blood. These were all very powerful. So how could they be destroyed? In this battlefield, there were now left only Matrikas, Kalika, and Chandika. It would be certainly extremely difficult for them to conquer all these Danavas. And if at that moment Shumba and Nishumba, were to join them with his army, certainly a great catastrophe would occur. Vyasa Maharishi said, O King Janamejaya, when the Devas were thus extremely anxious, out of terror, Ambika Devi said to the lotus-eyed Kali, O Chamundya, open out your mouth quickly, and no sooner I strike Raktabîja with weapons, you could drink off the blood as fast as it runs out of his body. Instantly I will kill them, those animals sprung from the blood with sharpened arrows, clubs, swords, and musalas, and you would then be able to devour them all at your will, and then roam in his field as you like. O large-eyed one, you would drink of all the jets of the blood in such a way that not a drop of at least escapes and falls on the ground, and then where they will be devoured. No more Danavas would be able to spring, thus they will surely be extirpated. Otherwise, they will never be destroyed. Let me begin to strike blows after blows on Raktabîja, and you better drink off quickly all his blood. Being intent on destroying the forces, O Chamundi, thus the Danavas, being all exterminated, we will hand over to the Indra, the Lord of Devas, his heavens without any enmity. And thus we can go peacefully and happily to our own places. Vyasa Maharshi said, O King Janamejaya, the Chamunda Devi, of furious strength, hearing thus the Devi's words, began to drink the jets of blood coming out of the body of Raktabîja. The Devi Ambika began to cut the demon's body into pieces, and Chamunda of thin belly went on devouring them. Then Raktabîja, becoming angry, struck Chamunda with his club, but though she was thus hurt severely, she drank of the blood and then devoured all the limbs thereof. O King, thus Kalika Devi drank of the blood of all the other powerful wicked Danava, Raktabîjas, and sprang out of blood. Ambika thus destroyed them. Thus all the Danavas created out of the blood were devoured. Then there was left lastly the real Raktabîja, Ambika Devi. Ambika thus trying to destroy the demons. Thus all the Danavas created by the blood were devoured them. There was left lastly the real Raktabîja. Ambika Devi then cut him as under into pieces by her axe and thus killed him. Thus when the dreadful Raktabîja was slain in the battle, the Danavas fled away trembling with fear, without any weapons, covered all over their bodies with the blood, and void of consciousness, they uttered, dumb, confounded, Alas, alas, what has happened? What has happened? Thus crying, they told their king Shumba, thus, O king of kings, Ambika Devi has killed Raktabîja, and Chamunda has drunk off all their blood. The carrier Vahana of Devi, the powerful, ferocious lion, killed Thus, when the dreadful Raktabîja was slain in the battle, the Danavas fled away, trembling with fear. Without any weapons, covered all over their bodies with the blood and void of consciousness, they uttered, dumb, confounded, Alas, alas, what has happened? What has happened? Thus crying, they told their king Shumba, Thus, O king, King of kings, Ambika Devi has killed Raktabîja, and Chamunda has drunk off all their blood. The carrier of Devi, the powerful ferocious lion, killed other powerful warriors, and Kali devoured the remaining soldiers. O Lord of the Danavas, we have fled and came to you to give the news of the battle and to describe the wonderful doings of that Chandika Devi in the battlefield. O king, in our opinion, no one will be able to conquer this lady. Be he Daitya, Danava, Gandharva, Asura, Yaksha, Pannaga, Charana, Rakshasa, and Uraga. O king of kings, the other goddesses Indrani and others have come to battle on their own carriers, respectively, and are fighting with various weapons. O Lord of Danavas, the Danava forces are all slain by them with excellent weapons in their hands. Even Raktabîja has been slain in no time. The lion, indomitable prowess, killed the Rakshasas in the battle. The Devi alone is hard to conquer. How much more would it be possible to conquer her? Then she has been joined with other goddesses. So consult with the ministers and do what is reasonable. In our opinion, it is better to make treaty with her and quit our enmity. O king, think over the fact that lady destroyed all the Dhanavas and at least drank of the blood of Raktabîja. Devi Ambika told Dhanavas, fly to Patala, save your life. No more fighting is desirable. She is not an ordinary woman. She is a Mahamaya. There is not the least doubt in this. Only to serve the cause of the gods, she has manifested herself and is now destroying all the Dhanava's raids. Vyasa Maharishi said, hearing thus, Shumba got confronted by Kala, the death as his end has come again, and said the following words, his lips quivering with anger. You are struck with a fear, so you are all take the refuge of Chandika or fly down to Patala. But I will kill her with all my exertion and effort. I conquered all the host of Devas, and I will have enjoyed their kingdom. Shall I now, out of the fear of one lady, fly and enter into the Patala? All my attendants, Raktabîja and other heroes, are now dead in the battle, and it is possible that I will now fly away out of the sake, preserving my life only. See, the death of all the beings is ordained by Kala and is unavoidable. No sooner being is born, he is liable to the fear of death. How can a man then, out of fear of the death, quit all his name and fame? O Nishumba, I will now go immediately to the battle, mounting on my chariot, and will return after slaying her in battle. And if I cannot kill her, I will not then return any more. O best of warriors, better stand on my side with all the forces and kill this lady in no time with sharp arrows. Nishumba said, today I will go to the battle and slaying the Kalika will shortly return here with Ambika. O king, do not think at all of that lady. See my world, conquering strength, and look at that weak woman. There is a vast difference. Cast aside your this great mental anxiety and trouble and joy. O brother, Nishimba is telling his brother, oh brother, excellent things. I will bring that dignified lady with all honors before you. O king, you ought not to go to the battle when I am alive. I will presently go to the fight and bring for you that lady as a sign of our victory. Vyasa Maharishi said, O king, the saying, O king, thus saying, the younger brother, proud of his own strength, went hurriedly to the battlefield, mounting on his big chariot. He was protected all over his body by his coat of armor, and he was well provided with various weapons and all other accoutrements of war. The, the birds began to sing the birds began to sing hymns to him, and various other propitious ceremonies were being performed. Here ends the 29th chapter of the 5th book, Killing Raktabîja, in Devi Bhagavatham, written by Veda Vyasa Maharishi with 18,000 shlokas. Now we came to 30th of chapter on killing of the Nishumba and Shumba. Vyasa Maharishi continued to talk to Janamejaya, thus making a firm resolve that there would be either victory or death. The great warrior Nishumba went to fight with Devi Bhagavati with great excitement and with all his forces. Shumba, too, the lord of Daityas, accompanied by his forces, went after Nishumba. Shumba knew fully well, the rules of warfare, therefore he remained a witness there. Indra and other devas and yakshas all stationed themselves in the celestial space, eager to see that fight covered with the clouds. Nishumba came to the field and taking the strong bow made of horns, began to shoot arrows after arrows at the Devi Bhagavati with the object of frightening her. Seeing Nishumba with his excellent bow shooting arrows, Chandika began to laugh frequently with a soft, slow voice. She spoke to Kalika, O Kali, see their foolishness. They have come here before me, courting to death. They are so much deluded by Maya, and they yet expect victory when they have already witnessed the death of Raktabîja and many Daityas. Hope is so very strong word that it never quits the man. How wonderful is this that some of their armies are destroyed, some are wounded, some are rendered senseless, some made powerless, some have fled. Seeing all these, yet they have come to fight with the Devi Bhagavati. O Kali, today I will certainly slay Nishumba and Shumba. Their death is going to happen. Deluded by Devi Maya, they have come to me. Therefore, in the face of all devas, I will kill them today. Vyasa Maharishi said to King Janamejaya, thus saying, and suddenly drawing her bow, Chandi covered Nishumba in front of all her over with a multitude of arrows. Nishumba too cut off these arrows into pieces by his sharp arrows. Thus the fight became more and more dreadful between Nishumba and Chandika. At this time, the lion of Bhagavati came down upon the forces, quivering his manes, like a powerful elephant going down into the lake. By his nails and teeth, he tore as under the bodies of Danavas that fell before him and devoured them, as if they were infatuated elephants. That the lion thus crushing down the soldiers, Nishumba came forward hurriedly, drawing his excellent bow. Hundreds of other generals of Danavas came up there to kill Devi. Biting their lips and with their eyes reddened with anger, in the meantime, Shumba killed Kalika. In the meantime, Shumba was killed. In the meantime, Shumba killed Kalika and came very hurriedly there with his forces to capture the Divine Mother. Coming to the battlefield of Shumba, saw that the Divine Mother was standing before him, though she was looking beautiful, fit for love sentiment, yet she was filled also with the sentiment of fear, wrath. At that time, the large eyes of Bhagavati, the beautiful in three worlds, though naturally red, looked more red due to the wrath. When Shumba saw her lovely features, the desire to marry her and the hope of victory all vanished away from his mind, and he stood there with a bow in his hand, firmly holding in his mind that he would die. Seeing the Danava in that state, she smiled and began to say, so that all the Danavas could hear, O wretched fools, if you all want to live, quit all over your weapons here and go to Patala, save yourself, or to the middle of the ocean, or be the slain in the battle by my arrows, and go to heavens and enjoy there without any fear all the enjoyments and sports there. Weakness and heroism Both cannot be expected at one and the same time and at the same individual. Therefore, I am ordering you to dispel your fears. Now go wherever you find your ease and happiness. Vyasa Maharishi said to King Janamejaya, hearing these words of Devi Bhagavati, that haughty Nrsimha ran forward, holding in his hand the sharpened axe and shield adorned with eight chandras embossed, and firstly struck and swore violently on the proud lion. Then, whirling with great forces, that sword hurled it upon Divine Mother, Devi Bhagavati. The Devi then thwarted off the blow of the sword by her club and struck at his arm by Parashu. The warrior Nrsimha thus struck at his arm, patiently bore that hurt and struck at Chandika by his axe. The Devi then made such a terrible noise and bells that all the Daityas were struck with terror. Then she, desiring to kill Nrsimha, began to drink nectar frequently. O king, thus the terrible fight went on between the Devas and Danavas, both trying to defeat the other party. Then began to dance in the battlefield. The cruel, voracious dogs, jackals, vultures, herons, crows, and other birds, very much gladdened. The battlefield was drenched with blood and the dead carcasses of innumerable daityas, elephants, horses. Nrsimha, then seeing the Danavas dead on the field, became very angry and ran forward with his terrible club before the Devi Bhagavati. That proud Asura struck first at the head of the lion with that club and laughed again and again and struck the Devi with the same club. The Devi too got very angry seeing Nrsimha before her and striking at her. She then spoke that, "Oh, you stupid, wait till I sever your head from your body by this axe. Soon you will be sent unto the death with your head severed off your body." Vyasa Maharshi said to the king Janamejaya, thus saying, the Chandika Devi instantly cut off his head of Nrsimha by her axe with a great caution. The head thus severed from the body of the blow of the Devi, the headless demon began to roam there and there with great force with club in his hand. The Devas then got very much frightened. The Devi then cut off the hands and feet of the headless demon with sharpened arrows. That vicious wretch fell down lifeless on the ground like a mountain. The powerful Daitya Nrsimha, being thus killed, a great uproar arose amidst the panic-stricken forces. The soldiers covered all over their bodies with the blood, left all their weapons in the field, began to make a sound piteous cry with mouth and hands as sign of danger, and fled away to the King Shumba. He, the tormentor of the foes, then asked them coming, "Where is the Shumba now? Why have you fled away from the field?" Thus hearing the king's words, they bowed down and said to the king Shumba, "Your brother Nishumba is lying dead on the battlefield. O king, the Devi killed all the Danavas, warriors, that attended your brother. Only we are left, and we have come here to give you the information. O king, Nishumba has been killed by the weapons of the Devi, so we think you ought not to go to the battle. Know this as certain to the lady, the highest cause of this universe has come here to destroy the Danavas. The object being to serve the cause of the gods. This lady is not an ordinary woman. She is the supreme force. Her doings are inconceivable. What more can be said than the fact that Devas never can know her? This Devi can assume the various forms. She is the origin of Maya. She is very clever. She is adorned with various ornaments and is holding various weapons in her hands. Her doings are incomprehensible. She is like a second night of dissolution at the end of the world. She is perfect, endowed with all auspicious signs, capable to go beyond the insurmountable. This wonderful Devi is serving the cause of the good. This wonderful Devi is serving the cause of the gods, devatas, and devas from the sky are singing hymns to her. O king, it is now your permanent duty to fly away will turn out favorable. There is no doubt in this. It is time that makes a strong man weak, and it is that very time that makes that weak man strong and again stimulates from the victory. Time makes a generous donor a beggar, and it is time that makes the same beggar again in a generous donor. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Indra, and other devas are all under the sway of this time. So time is the sovereign of all, therefore, O king, wait for this time. Now time is favorable to the gods and inimical to you. Therefore, time is destroying now the Daityas. But the course of time is not the same throughout. O king, the actions of time are various, no doubt. Time creates men and time destroys them. The time creation is different from the time of destruction. This is evident to you before your eyes. See, when the time was favorable to you, you subject Indra and all other devas and made them pay taxes to you. And now time is unfavorable to you, so an ordinary weak woman is killing the powerful Danavas. Time, therefore, is doing favorable things and also unfavorable things. The host of devas or the woman Kali is not the cause of thereof. O king, the present time is not favorable to you and the Daityas. Knowing this, do as you like. See, Indra, Vishnu, Varuna, Yama, and other prominent devatas are fled before in the battle, quitting the weapons. So, knowing this world as subject to the control of time, you can now fly away and quickly save your life in the Patala. For if you live, you will be able to get in future all the pleasures, and if you be killed, your enemies will be all be very glad and roam everywhere fearlessly, singing propitious songs. Here in the 30th chapter of the 5th book on the killing of Nishumbhavada by Sri Mad Devi Bhagavatham, a Mahapuranam, 18,000 verses of Maharishi Veda Vyasa. Now we came to the 31st chapter on the death of Shumba. Vyasa Maharishi continued the pravachana to King Janamejaya, Janamejaya. Shumba, the lord of Daityas, hearing these words of soldiers, began to say, then with eyes rolling with anger. Shumba said, O fools, what are you saying all this? How can I do this unspeakably mean act and then hope to live? How shall I be able to roam in this world when I become the cause of the slaying of my brothers and ministers? Time is the more powerful cause of all that takes place, good or bad. So when this formless time is the supreme ruler, what use is there in my brooding over the result? Let whatever come that's inevitable, let whatever be done that is destined to take place, death or life. I do not think of either. The more so when time is never able, even when worshipped. So the Shumba said he can't bear the loss of Nishumba, the brother, and Raktabîja, and all the warriors. He can't tolerate. So he want to come to fight with the Devi Bhagavati. I desire to hold on to my life, foregoing all my name and fame. Even Brahma, who has created all this universe, will not sooner come to an end than his longevity expires. 4,000 yugas constitute one day of Brahma. 4,000 yugas constitute one day of Brahma. And in that one day, 14 Indras perished. So twice the life of Brahma constitute the life of Vishnu. Similarly, twice the life period of Vishnu constitute the life period of Maheshwara. And when their longevities expire, they come to an end. This visible earth, mountains, sun and moon, all will perish. So it has been especially ordained by the destiny. Therefore, O fools, I do not care a bit of the fear for the death. When being is born, he must die, and when anyone dies, he will be born again. There is no doubt in this. So One ought to preserve one's name and fame, which is more impermanent than in this transitory body. Prepare my chariot. I will go today to the battlefield and find victory or defeat come, whatever it may be, as fate has ordained. I will soon go to the fight. Thus saying, Shumba mounted his chariot quickly and went where the Devi Ambika was staying. Then the fourfold army, cavalry, infantry, chariots, horses, and elephants, and innumerable soldiers followed him with weapons in their hands. Going there to the Himalaya mountain, he saw the Divine Mother sitting on her land. She appeared so very lowly as to enchant the three worlds. Her body was decorated with various ornaments. All the auspicious gems were manifest. The Devas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Kinnaras in the heavens were all worshipping her with hymns and parijata flowers, and the Devi was making beautiful sounds with bells and conches, indicative of her victory. Seeing her, Shumba was very much enchanted with passionate love and struck with him. The 5 arrows of Cupid thought thus, how wonderful is her lovely continents. See how wonderful and amazing is her skillfulness, delicacy, and capabilities to endure the hardship of war, though quite contrary to each other, are both in her. What a wonder is this! Her bodies are extremely delicate, her limbs are lean and thin. Besides, she is lately blooming into womanhood. Still, she does not feel any passion. This is undoubtedly very wonderful. She is exquisitely beautiful, that can be desired of in one's mind, and though she is endowed with all the auspicious signs, yet she has no inclination for all the pleasures and allurements of the world, and is now slaying the powerful Asuras. This is wonderful indeed. Now, what steps to be taken so that this lady comes under my control? That is his imagination, Shumba. All the mantrams also are not with me now to bring this swan-eyed lady unto me. This proud, lovely lady is the incarnate of all mantrams. How will she come under my control? This heroic lady cannot be controlled by conciliary words, allurements, dissensions, and is not advisable to fly away from the battlefield and go to Patala. What am I to do? Where shall I go in this critical moment? And if I die at the hands of this lady, the death is not a glorious one. It will take away my fame. The death in a battlefield is conducive to one's well-being. So the sages say, when both the parties are quickly strong, the devas have created this lady stronger than even 100 strong men. She is a woman merely in the name. This lady is very powerful and has come here to destroy the Daityas and Danavas. There is no doubt in this. What effect will conciliary words now produce on her? She has come to slay us. Will she be appeased with good words? Neither will allurements or precious things be of any avail, for she is decked with various arms and weapons, nor will it be of any use to show dissensions between the Devas and her. Further, all the Devas are under her control. Therefore, it is far better to die than to fly victory. Fly, victory or death could come unto me today as fate has ordained. Vyasa Maharishi said, O King Janamejaya, thus thinking, Shumbha became ready to shew his strength and firmly resolved to fight. He said to Devi before him, Devi, fight, but O one of delicate limbs, you so much toil is in vain. Doing contrary to the doings of the womankind, the pair of eyes of the woman are their arrows, the eyebrows are their bows, their gestures and postures are their weapons, and their hits are those persons who are skilled in amorous love sentiments. The dyes used in painting the bodies are their armors, their mental desires are in their chariots. So sweet soft words and conversations are their trumpet sounds. Women have no other things for their war preparation. Therefore, beloved, any other weapons are mere mockeries and ridiculous. Their modesty is their ornament. Impudence can never grace them. An exquisitely beautiful woman, if engaged in a fight, will look harsh, especially when thou wilt dry. Thy bow, your bow, how wilt be able to hide your body? Where will thy gently treadings go? O beautiful, thy counselors are this Kalika and the stupid Chamunda. Chandika is thy advisor, her voice is very hoarse. How can then she be able to nurse? Vyasa Maharishi said, O best of the descendants of Bharata, the Janamejaya, when Shumba said thus, the Divine Mother, seeing him passionate, smiled and said, Devi Bhagavati told Shumba, You stupid one, why are you so much distressed with passion? O fool, if your hand does not come forward to strike weapons at me, then fight this ugly Kalika or Chamunda. They are your best conquerors of the battlefield. They will fight with you. I will stand as a mere witness. Thus saying, the Devi Bhagavati said, Kalika in sweet words, O Kalika, your nature is fierce. This Shumba likes also the fierce, so kill him. The Vyasa Maharishi said, King Janamejaya, that Kalika, the incarnate of death, thus ordered, took up her club immediately and became ready to fight, as if sent there direct by the god of death. A dreadful fight then ensued between the two, and the high-souled Munis and Devas were present there and witnessed the great event. The Shumba first struck at Kalika, raising his club. Kalika then struck Shumba in return with her club violently. Instantly she made a dreadful sound, broke down his chariot, glittering like a gold, into pieces, killed the horses of the chariot, and slew the charioteer. Walking then on foot with a very heavy club in his hand, Shumba struck with a great anger on the breast of the Kalika and began to laugh. Kalika, in the meanwhile, rendering his stroke useless, soon took up her axe and cut off his left hand, passed it with the sandal, and decked with arms and weapons. His left hand thus cut off, his whole body was drenched with the torrents of blood, and he came up with a club in his hand and struck Kalika with it. Kalika too laughed, and with her scimitar cut off his right arm, holding the club and ornamented with armlet. Shumba became angry and came up violently to kick her, when Kalika quickly cut off his two legs. His arms and legs thus severed from his body, the demon frightened Kalika and told her, Wait, wait, and soon he came up before her. Seeing the demon coming, Kalika severed his neck, and from his body, like a lotus, blood began to gush out in continuous streams. O king, the head of Shumba, thus severed from his body, fell on the ground like a mountain. Immediately the life left the body, seeing the Danava fell down lifeless. Indra and other host of devas began to worship Devi Bhagavati, Chamunda and Kalika and chanted lovely hymns to please them. The winds then began to blow pleasantly. All the quarters looked very clear, and fire in the sacrificial altars, being circumambulated, became very propitious. On the other hand, those Daityas that remained alive quitted their arms and weapons, bowed down to the Divine Mother, and fled away one and all to the Patala. The remaining Danavas who ran to Patala, O king, I have now described in a regular order how the Devi protected the Devatas and destroyed the Nishumba and all other Asuras. Those human beings on the surface of the earth that read this anecdote from the beginning to the very end of this chapter, here it constantly get all their desires fulfilled. There is no doubt in this. O king, verily he gets a son who has not got a son. He gets abundance of wealth who is without wealth. The diseased became cured of their diseases. What more can be said than the fact that He who hears this glorious deed of Devi Bhagavati in its entirety gets all that he desires. O king, that man who reads daily this holy anecdote or hears it has never to fear from his enemies. In addition, he gets liberation after leaving his body. Here ends the 31st chapter of the 5th book on the death of Shumba, Mahapurana of Sri Devi Bhagavath Purana of 18,000 shlokas of Maharishi Veda Vyasa. शंभुवे नमः विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यंबकाय त्रिपुरांतकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकंठाय मृत्युंजयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः. ओम नमोस्तु अनंताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादाक्षरभव सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाश्वते सहस्रकोटियुगधारिणे नमः. सहस्रकोटियुगधारिणे नमः. आकाशात् परिदं यथागतसागरं सर्वदेव नमस्कारः. श्रीकेशं प्रयत्यो नमः. सर्ववेदेषु पुण्यं सर्वतीर्थेषु यत्फलं तत्फलं पुण्यमाप्तिवासनाद् वासुदेवस्य वासन्ते जगत्त्रयं सर्वभूतनिवासोऽसि वासुदेवस्ते कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. नारायणायेति